trying to one-up him and get to 2-0 on him and get to 10-1 on the day, or on the weekend. And Pram starts the game off with an Ultra Ball here with a Rockruff active. Meanwhile, Pedro has a Rockruff of his own with a Zorua on the bench.
Yeah, and this is just one of the many stories we're going to follow here as the tournament progresses. In the remaining field of 64 players, these 2 players are former international champions. They have the chance to win a second international championship, both of them winning in the previous season. And Pedro actually just had another strong finish at the, I believe it was in Brazil, at the Latin America International Championships. And, of course, we still have Torres Reklev in the field as well, so lots of former international champions trying to do it again.
Now, in the few short seconds that you were saying that, Pram has found his Buzzwole through his Ultra Ball.
When I was rambling on there.
Found Max Elixir. Max Elixir, of course, hit for Pram, and now Tapu Lele's Wonder Tagging in a Sycamore. Beast energy now coming down for Pram, as well as a Choice Band and a Sycamore. What a powerful start here for Pramawat. He's got 2 energy here on his Buzzwole already and a Choice Band to go with it. So a very, very strong start here for Pram. As long as he's got a little bit more of a consistent advantage going on from turn 2 on, he's definitely going to be in a good spot against Lycanroc Zoroark here with from Pedro.
Oof. Enhanced Hammer, though, that's one way to slow things down right away. I think that was both a good and a bad turn for Pram here. Good turn. He got a Max Elixir off, attached energy, played a Professor Sycamore. The bad thing is he had to put down a Pokemon GX. With this version of the Buzzwole deck, you really want to avoid having any GXs on the field until your opponent takes their first 2 prize cards. That way you can guarantee you use that Sledgehammer attack to full effect. And having to play down Tapu Lele GX opens up an opportunity for Pedro to do something like knock out one Buzzwole, then knock out Tapu Lele GX, and completely avoid that Sledgehammer altogether.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. Obviously, at this point, he had no choice. He had to go for the Sycamore. Well, he had a Wonder Tag in a Sycamore, but now Pedro attaching a strong energy onto his Rockruff and just cornering here.
That's huge, though. Corner, Pedro opting to play one corner Rockruff. That's going to prevent a retreat here, but it's going to end up not mattering.
Not
because
so
of
huge anymore. Yeah, that was the perfect counter to that play here from Pedro, as Buzzwole is going to have a one-hit knockout on the Zorua. Now with Max Elixir bringing some energy onto the Rockruff, exactly what you want to be seeing here.
And Pedro also didn't have a great start. No turn 1 Bridget. When you're going second and you don't get a turn 1 Bridget, you feel like you are so far behind against these Buzzwole decks.
Yeah. I was about to say, if we could see something like a strong energy Diancie Lycanroc from Pram, that would have been a very big turn. But instead, he does have a knockout on the Zora, which is just as strong. Now Zora goes down. Pram takes his first prize, and Pedro left with just a lone Rockruff right now.
Ooh, and a second strong energy going on.
Does he have anything going for him? He has to play an N here. Shuffles both players' hands into their deck. Pram only gets to draw 5 as he's already taken a prize here, but Pedro has nothing on the field besides this one Rockruff. He's going to need a lot of help here from this end.
Yeah, so Pedro hedging a little bit. I think his ideal turn here would have been Lycanroc GX plus double colorless energy, but he knows he needs to attack this turn. So he plays the second strong energy, which allows him to use Dangerous Rogue GX for 140 if he can find that Lycanroc GX. Now, if he does not find Lycanroc GX, he's in a disastrous position. He's going to lose both of those energy, and Pramawat's going to all but seal this game.
And obviously having no access to something like Bridget has really hurt Pedro here, as he's actually forced to just Tapu Lele and find a Bridget through Wonder Tag. That's how important this Bridget is to these Zoroark decks. Being able to fill your bench up, being able to play multiple Zoruas, allow yourself to get one Zorua knocked out and still be okay, and obviously have multiple Rockruffs in play is just very important for Pedro's strategy. And you see how he's forced to just float stone onto the Rockruff and retreat, bring up a Tapu Lele with no energy and no damage on it. Kind of like a minor stall tactic here, but we do have a Rockruff on the bench here for Pram, so if he can find himself a Lycanroc, he'll be able to knock out this Rockruff and really put himself in a really good spot.
Yeah, I think this is the turn of the game right here. If Pram can find Lycanroc GX, use Bloodthirsty Eyes, and wipe Pedro's Rockruff off the board. He leaves him with 0 energy in play and a fully powered Buzzwole with a choice band. He's going to have energy on that Rockruff that can threaten a dangerous Rogue GX at any point. I don't know how Pedro comes back from that spot.
Pram can afford to play a Brooklet Hill here as he is trying to target down this Rockruff. He knows that targeting down this Rockruff is key to this turn here. So he decides to play a Brooklet Hill, and he had a choice between Remoraid and Diancie. He chose Diancie for now, as Remoraid will have to wait its turn.
Yeah, and let me just put this in perspective. The worst thing that happens for Pram this turn is that he doesn't find Lycanroc GX, and he just knocks out this Tapu Lele GX instead. If he flips 1 heads on swing around, he gets the knockout.
All right, so a big-time Cynthia here for Pram. Will he find his Lycanroc? It seems pretty likely that he can. He's gone through a good chunk of his deck so far. Hasn't found it yet.
Any Ultra Ball or Lycanroc GX will do it.
I do not believe I saw an Ultra Ball or a Lycanroc, Kyle.
I agree.
Oh, man. That's actually a big opening here for Pedro. As yes, we will likely see a knockout here. And actually, let's wait and see.
All right, swinging around. Needs 1 heads. Oh, no! Double tails.
Double tails on this swing around, only dealing 150 damage.
I can't believe it. I don't think I've ever seen Pram flip 2 tails.
That doesn't happen. We needed to see one of these rolls be a heads in order for that Tapu Lele to be knocked out and Pram to go down to 3 prizes. But instead, we see a fully damaged Tapu Lele.
So now this introduces an interesting turn for Pedro. I think he was expecting to have to use Bridget and kind of fill up his bench. In this spot, I think if he can trade and draw into Lycanroc GX, he's got an Acerola in hand. I think he might just want to not bench anything and then knock out this Buzzwole and not give Pram the option to Dangerous Rogue his own Lycanroc GX. You play some weird games when you have Dangerous Rogue GX in the mix, which does more damage for each bench Pokemon your opponent has. You can get some situations where you can create some big swings where you can use your GX attack to knock out your opponent's Lycanroc, but they can't do the same back to you.
Sure. So now Brooklet Hill does find Rockruff. Tapu Lele likely coming down to Wonder Tag again.
All right, so it looks like Pedro is just going to fill his bench here.
All right, Tapu Lele, Wonder Tagging.
Yeah, the other option is you can just go for his Rockruff. Take it out before it can evolve.
I think I prefer that option.
Yeah, so he's going to Mallow. Certainly find Lycanroc GX and then probably something like a Float Stone as well.
We've said that before.
This time it's perfectly reasonable.
All right. So Mallow will find 2 cards from Pedro's deck here, putting them on top, and then going to be seeing trade here from Pedro to draw them onto his hand. A nice little combination here between the supporter and Pokemon.
So there we
Bridget
go.
discarded.
Wonderful combo. Mallow, put 2 cards on top of your deck. Trade, draw the 2 cards. Basically a double computer search. Not bad.
We do see that Floatstone and Lycanroc, just like you said. Oh, man. Okay, so are we going to see a knockout on the Rockruff? That's the real big question here.
I think you almost have to. You can't afford to leave a Rockruff with 2 energy in play. Lycanroc GX is just such a devastating attacker when it's fully powered. I mean, that Buzzwole is threatening on its own, but you just can't leave that Rockruff there.
Completely agree, and so does Pedro as he brings up a Tapu Lele and knocks it out.
As we've
Tapu
seen,
Lele.
his Tapu Lele are resistant to Pram's Buzzwole. He's just going to flip 2 tails again.
He could have very easily just gone with Lycanroc as the attacker here, but chose instead to go with Tapu Lele to kind of maximize his energy.
So Pramawat now has a big turn lined up for himself if he wants to take it. He has Buzzwole GX in hand along with Strong Energy and Guzma. So if he wants to Guzma out the Rockruff on the bench, he can Jet Punch for 70 and finish off that Tapu Lele GX on the bench for a 3-prize turn, making it so that all he has to do is knock out 1 Pokemon GX to win the game.
Okay.
But looks like he's not doing that.
Actually, I kind of like that too, but I can understand why he wouldn't go for that, because then he would absolutely guarantee himself to never have that 4-prize sledgehammer.
It's also very risky. He could then get N down to 2 cards, and he doesn't have Octillery in play yet. So you can see taking a more conservative route. A lot of players would be very tempted to just take the 3-prize knockout, but long term, it might not be the best play for winning.
Guzma onto the Zoroark. The lone Zoroark in Pedro's field gets knocked out with Buzzwole's swing around.
Yeah, and this is a perfectly reasonable play to get rid of Zoroark GX, get rid of the trade. Pedro's deck is reliant on having Zoroark GX out, trading to draw a lot of cards. And when he doesn't have Zoroark GX, he's just not running as many supporter cards as other decks because you just think you're going to be trading all the time. You don't need to play as many Professor Sycamore or Cynthia or anything like that. And he only has 3 cards in his hand, so there's just a good chance he doesn't have enough resources to keep up the pace with things like this Buzzwole. And especially as we enter the portion of the game where Pramawat's going to be able to start using those Beast Rings.
Timer Ball now finds another Lycanroc here for Pedro. Will Pedro be using that Lycanroc to bring up the Tapu Lele? It does seem like that's the right play, right?
I actually don't know. He might want to go for the Rockruff again. Lycanroc GX is just such a devastating attacker. I don't think there's a great option for him. No matter what he does, Pramawat is still left with some attacker. But yeah, it looks like he is going to avoid the Sledgehammer as much as he can.
Yeah, he's going for the Tapu Lele here. He's going to maximize his prizes, and he's also going to avoid Sledgehammer. It seems to be a little bit of a combination. GX, Dangerous Rogue GX does get used, and we see knockout onto this Tapu Lele, bringing himself down to 3 prizes to match Pram's 3. This is showing to be just as exciting a finish as the previous 3 games were between these 2 players.
Yeah, and I think, Big Top Deck finds the Ultra Ball. He's going to be able to get Octillery out. And I think if Pramawat can find a Beast Ring this turn, he's going to put himself in a position to pretty much lock this game up. He's got the Buzzwole GX in hand already. So if he can find the Beast Ring and then a Strong Energy, he can just knuckle impact for the knockout on this Lycanroc GX.
Pramawat using Brooklet Hill to go with that Ultra Ball. Save a little bit of time. Finds another Rockruff. Almost wants to guarantee himself a shot at a Lycanroc at some point to end this game.
Yeah, he's got enough energy in play, and there we see he's going for it.
Buzzwole with the Strong Energy. Abyssal Hand drawing 4 more cards.
Looking for that Beast Ring, and there it is.
Finds the Beast Ring right away.
This is the card I think people were fearing the most coming into this weekend. Beast Ring just gives an absurd amount of energy acceleration for this Buzzwole deck, making a strong deck even more powerful. Just out of nowhere, he dropped a Buzzwole GX, attached energy, and then, I'll grab 2 more energy out of my deck. And out of nowhere, power up this Buzzwole GX.
It very well may be the most powerful effect that we have in the game right now.
Yeah. It's certainly the card where you're like, please don't have it. Please don't have it. And then they play Beast Ring and you're like, ugh.
Well, here's Buzzwole. Pram doing the math, but sure enough, that will be a knockout onto this onto this Lycanroc.
He's trying to figure out whether or not to play an N. Pedro does have 3 cards, so he's going to shuffle in and
draw 3 with no trade available to him.
Yeah, sorry. It looked like there was a chance he had played a second supporter for the turn, but looks like that is not the case. He used Abyssal Hand.
Right. So both of these players shuffling in, drawing 3 cards apiece, and then Pramawat will surely be knocking out this Lycanroc, bringing himself down to a single prize, and most importantly, leaving Pedro with a field just that doesn't look very exciting at all.
And the second Beast Ring comes out. This is where it gets disgusting. It would be bad enough if you could only play 1 per turn, if it were a Prism Star card or something like that. But it is not. It's just an item card. And you can play more than 1 in a turn. And look at how much energy he has in play now. I don't know how Pedro is ever beating this.
Honestly, it'd probably be playable as a supporter. It's that good. Now, that Buzzwole does knock out this Lycanroc. 1 prize to go for Michael. 3 prizes to go still for Pedro.
Yeah, I mean, what can he do?
He has 4 cards in his hand.
What are you going to do? Energy Drive? I mean, Pramawat can't use Knuckle Impact on the following turn. He'd have to have a Guzma to kind of reset it. But even just retreating and using swing around, flip aheads, you win the game against Tapu Lele GX.
The crazy thing is you still have to kind of watch your bench size to go with everything. On top of everything, you also have to kind of keep your bench size low. For example, this Mewtwo's in.
Well, this is one way to pull it off, I think. If you could go Mewtwo, double colorless, choice band.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he does have Professor
he has the Sycamore. That's actually huge. That does let him have a shot here. Well, triple Zoroark says otherwise.
Well, he finds the multi-switch. Does he find the choice band to go with it?
I don't believe so, Kyle, but these old eyes have been wrong before.
Yeah, it still leaves him in the same situation. A single heads from the swing around on that benched Buzzball. That'll take out Mewtwo, but got to give yourself a chance.
Okay. Lycanroc getting the fighting energy attached to it, though. This is going to be a rough spot here for Pedro, honestly.
Yeah, I think his best option is to just pass. You can do this too. You can Claw Slash for 110 damage. The thing is, you need to leave Lycanroc GX active because it gives you the best odds of surviving the turn. If you retreat to either of those Pokemon, it's just a swing around, single heads, the game is over.
Right.
Here you force Pramawat to have the Guzma.
Right now, Pramawat looking for Guzma. He's got the strong energy in hand. So if he finds a Guzma, that's going to be a guaranteed victory.
Oh, he's got the guaranteed victory. He can Ultra Ball. We're going to find Lycanroc GX. He's got a second strong energy in hand. And that's going to be a swing around, no coin flips required. And it looks like Pramawat's going to lock up game number 1.
Lycanroc doing the exact same thing Guzma would be doing. Finds that Mewtwo from the bench, and that second strong energy means you do not have to flip here for swing around. Game 1 goes to Michael.
Yeah, so far, a repeat of day 1. Pramawat getting the best of Pedro in that first day, that first matchup, and we have the rematch here. And I think if you ask Pram, he would say it's going as expected. And I think he's not too far off. When you go first with the Buzzwole deck against Zoroark Lycanroc, you generally do feel favored. You get to attack a Zorua before it gets to evolve. It just puts so much pressure on the Zoroark player, and it already feels like it's probably slightly favorable for the Buzzwole player. You have all these fighting Pokemon against Zoroark GX, the fighting weak Pokemon, and it really almost eliminates a big portion of Pedro's deck, because if you're ever attacking with Zoroark GX, it feels like it's just going to get knocked out. So it really turns it into Lycanroc versus Buzzwole Lycanroc. And you do have things like Mewtwo and Mew-EX to throw some wrenches in there, but if everything goes according to plan, I think you have to say that Buzzwole is favored in this matchup.
Right. Also keep in mind, Pedro's start was, it was terrible.
Yeah.
He didn't have a Bridget. He never actually played Bridget throughout the game, and we see how reliant Zoroark decks are on that. It'll be interesting to see if Pedro going first now will be able to kind of just tie Pramawat in game wins here, just based on the strength of his first turn alone. Pedro does seem to have a much better shot at winning if he goes first, because he gets to evolve all his stage 1s before Pramawat gets to attack, or before Pramawat gets to do too much anyways. And that could be huge here for Pedro. Now, Pedro does find a Pokemon right away, while Pramawat is forced to mulligan, which, cute little advantage. Get an extra card. Why not?
Yeah. And again, we can't understate how awesome this matchup is. We have Michael Pramawat, one of the perennial top-rated players in the U.S. and Canada region, and of course the first ever international champion last year in Europe. And then Pedro coming all the way from Europe, and also one of the top-rated players from his region, and a former international champion as well. 2 of the top players in the game right now, getting to go at it for a second time in this tournament already.
Yeah, Pedro actually 1 loss away from having 2 losses in this tournament. Both of them, luckily or not, to the same player.
Yeah, I've been there before. That is something that can happen when you split up into 2 days of Swiss rounds. Even though you played a person in the first day, it all kind of resets in day 2. You carry over your records, but you can play against the same person twice.
Already we're seeing a much better start here from Pedro, as he has the Tapu Lele, able to Wonder Tag a Bridget into his hand, unless his hand is poor. But that seems to be what we're going to be seeing here, as Bridget is found here from Wonder Tag. Bridget now finding any three basic Pokemon, excluding Pokemon EX.
Yeah. He could grab one Mew EX if he really wanted to.
Sure. And then you get no Zoroark.
It's an option. Not a good one, but...
All right, so we're likely to see a couple of Zoroarks and a Rockruff, or maybe one Zoroark, two Rockruff. The world is his oyster, Kyle.
Yeah, and this is clearly a much better start. But the other thing is, can he follow it up with an energy attachment? The perfect turn for the Zoroark Lycanroc deck is you play a Bridget, you get a bunch of basics out, and then you attach an energy to your Rockruff. Because Lycanroc GX requires 2 turns of attaching energy, whenever you can get a first turn energy attachment onto a Rockruff, it expands your options so much. It puts so much pressure on your opponent. It looks like Pedro does have it. He has the Rockruff and the fighting energy, so a perfect first turn for him.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow, even has the Float Stone to retreat.
Yeah, that actually does end up being pretty important here, as it takes away the Sledgehammer one-hit KO knockout from Pram to start things off for him. That's kind of one of the few things that he likes to rely on to give himself the early advantage, stop his opponent from having triple Zoroark right away, and kind of start being able to knock out these Zoroarks and Zoroarks throughout the game. But instead, we're likely going to see quite a few trades throughout the entirety of this game, just based on the strength of Pedro's hand alone. Ultra Ball here from Pram.
Yeah, so good starts for both players. Pedro obviously having one of the better starts he could have. He's still going to have to follow it up with, a couple Zoroark GX turn 2, but he's put himself in a great position after his first turn, and Pramawat looking like he's going to be in pretty good shape as well. He has an Ultra Ball to find Rockruff, and I'm pretty sure he's got a supporter card to back it up. So looks like we're going to have an excellent game 2.
Floatstone onto the Buzzwole. Fighting Energy actually going onto the Rockruff and a Sycamore for 7. So that's one thing I was thinking about, was if you attach onto your bench Rockruff, then all of a sudden if your opponent can knock that Rockruff out, then you're going to be in a really, really bad spot. But at the same time, dealing 30 damage to Mewtwo just doesn't seem very exciting either.
Yeah, it doesn't really do anything. And it makes it so Mewtwo does more damage to you. So no real point to doing 30 damage to the Mewtwo. For the most part, you're just going to go around it, or once you get Lycanroc powered up, you can Claw Slash it.
Pramawat does end his turn here after benching another Rockruff. An Ultra Ball here from Pedro to start his second turn off. Exactly what he wants to be seeing as he starts to bring these Zoroarks into play. The first of 3 potential. Another Floatstone.
Not bad.
Seems to have it all,
Yeah, follows it up with an N. So perfect so far from Pedro. He's still going to want to find something like Lycanroc GX and a double colorless energy so he can take out probably the Rockruff, maybe the Remoraid, but just getting some kind of knockout here is going to be a big deal.
So both players will be fighting 6 cards here through this end. Really, realistically, what Pedro wants to be doing is putting quite a bit of pressure onto
Oh, no. This hand is so good.
Maybe you saw something I didn't. I didn't get a good shot at his hand yet.
Well, let me tell you, if there's any card he wished he could have drawn, he has drawn it.
That simple. All right, there's Zoroark number 2.
Uh-huh.
Access to trade number 2.
Sorry, I guess he didn't get the third Zoroark.
See? Lying to the audience already.
But you do see the Lycanroc GX and double colorless energy in hand, so Pedro can take a knockout this turn if he wants it, and has that Parallel City to limit Pramawat's bench size. So again, Pedro just drawing everything he wants.
You go after the Remoraid here? Or the Rockruff? Probably the Rockruff, right, because of the energy?
Yeah, I think because the energy's there, I think you have to go after the Rockruff. Usually you would love to go after the Remoraid, but you just can't let a dangerous rogue kind of blow up your board here.
All right. Well, there we go. Bloodthirsty Eyes bringing up the Rockruff. He agrees. As Rockruff, with that energy, will be going down to a Zoroark.
Yep, so there we do see Riotous beating for the knockout. And now Pramawat's going to need to put together a good turn here. He wants to fight back. If he does get Max Elixir and an Energy, as well as Lycanroc GX, he can, pull off that Dangerous Rogue GX and take out Pedro's Lycanroc GX. And that would be a massive swing in the game, but it looks like he doesn't have the Max Elixir in hand. And you run into the awkward situation of, you have Lycanroc in hand now, but you can only Max Elixir onto basic Pokemon, so you can't evolve and then Max Elixir later.
And, okay, well, he is going for the Lycanroc, bringing up a Zorua. Well, the one Zorua that did not get evolved, unfortunate for it, as it's now going to meet its fate of getting sledgehammered for a knockout. Cynthia draws Pramawat 6 new cards, but Pramawat definitely not in an aggressive position yet. Pedro definitely seems to have all the momentum on his side of the field. Obviously, as we see a double color synergy on a Zoroark and a Choice Band plus Fighting Energy on a Lycanroc, both raring to go. Meanwhile, all Pramawat can really muster up is a Floatstone single energy Buzzwole.
Pramawat does find Ultra Ball, and he can find that very important Octillery card that really helps smooth out the draws for this Buzzwole Lycanroc deck. It's a very simple deck. It's mostly just basic Pokemon and a bunch of energy and then some items here and there, but you really do need Octillery's Abyssal Hand to refill your hand so that you can keep drawing those important items like Max Elixir and B-String when the time is right, those Choice Bands. It's very important to be able to just churn through resources.
Super odd bringing back a Buzzwole, a Rockruff, and a Fighting Energy.
And if you're Pramawat here, I think you have to be careful to not bench things. 2 benched Pokemon is perfect right here. 3 is getting risky. That means that Pedro can knock out that Lycanroc GX next turn if he finds a strong energy.
Lucky for him, it would be illegal for him to play the 4th Pokemon, but you're absolutely right that with a strong energy, Lycanroc becomes Lycanroc is just in huge danger. I just don't see the need for bringing the Diancie into play yet. I mean, I understand wanting to draw more with Abyssal Hand, but
yeah, it just seems. I mean, I could certainly be missing something, but if you don't bench Diancie Prism Star there, then there's no opportunity for Pedro to go Guzma, Strong Energy, Dangerous Rogue, and wipe out your Lycanroc GX, which takes away, number one, your Lycanroc GX, and puts Pedro out of Sledgehammer range.
Exactly.
And that is exactly what's going to happen. Strong Energy going on to that Lycanroc GX. Does he have the Guzma as well?
I believe I saw a Guzma. There it is. There's that Guzma. Guzma bringing up that Lycanroc, and Pram's got to be kicking himself there, as it seems that was a crucial mistake here from Michael, as now Pedro, I mean, the driver's seat is kind of an understatement now, as he seems to just be flying along through this game. Goes down to 3 prizes. Michael Pramawat still at 5, and most importantly, was never able to really take advantage of his the strongest attack his deck can offer, which was a 1 energy Sledgehammer for 120.
Yeah, the GX marker has been flipped, so Pedro has used his one-time GX attack for the game. And Pramawat has to respond here. He needs to find probably a Beast Ring to power up that Buzzwole GX. Otherwise, that Lycanroc GX is going to go uncontested one more turn. And whenever that thing can get multiple attacks off, it's usually taking big chunks of prize cards.
A very important Strong Energy does get played onto that Buzzwole. Sycamore, huge Sycamore here. Does he find a Beast Ring? I don't see it yet, but I do see a Max Elixir. Now, there's also an Ultra Ball and a Brooklet Hill to go with that. Brooklet Hill does get rid of that Parallel City, so it kind of combines into a nice little combination there. A Rockruff also in Pramawat's hand. But this is going to be huge. This Max Elixir is going to be very important here for Michael.
Yeah, obviously it's important. At the same time, it just seems like Pedro is in the driver's seat. He has the prize lead, and that's exactly where you want to be when you're playing this Zoroark Lycanroc deck. It's why you play cards like Mew EX in your deck. when you are the one in the lead, you can afford to make those trades where you're going, all right, I'm going to play Mew EX, double colorless energy, Riotous Beating, knock out your Buzzwole GX. I know it's getting knocked out, but I don't care because I'm the one winning. And then he can just respond with like Puzzle of Time, get back Mew EX and double colorless, and just win the game. So if Pedro can put together those combos every turn, he's going to coast to victory.
Pramawat here, Ultra Balling to fail just to lower his hand size. Really, really hoping to, first hit a Max Elixir, but second, find a Beast Ring off Abyssal Hand. Here's the Max Elixir, step 1. Does not hit so far. He hits on the final card. Ooh, that could not have been any more close. Okay, the final card was the Fighting Energy here for Michael, but now he's got a single card in his hand, and an Abyssal Hand could potentially draw him 4 cards right now. He has a choice band, so he's going to draw 5.
Yep. Getting the full value on that Abyssal Hand. 5 new cards.
So powerful. He finds the Beast Ring, too.
Yeah.
So he's right back in it, but you're absolutely right that that Pedro is still in a great spot here. He's exactly where he wants to be prize-wise.
Yeah, and he's got 2 Zoroark GX in play, so even an N won't disrupt him too badly. This is the kind of control you can establish with a Zoroark GX deck, and it's why these decks have been so successful and so popular for months now. Trade just gives you such an advantage and allows you to pretty much do whatever you want every turn, and it really takes away your opponent's options. I mean, when you're at this point with this deck, you're just taking knockouts every turn, and your opponent can't really stop you.
By that same token, we just saw how powerful Pram's deck can
Yes.
really be. Look at how many energies just exploded onto the field out of nowhere, really.
Yeah, and that was an excellent turn. Look how much energy he has. He's got attackers powered up for the rest of the game. If Pedro stumbles at all, Pramawat is surely going to win, but
It's hard for him to stumble here.
exactly. He's put himself in a position where I don't think he can stumble.
Well, I would agree with you. But we have seen some strange things happen throughout this tournament already.
Yeah.
So not all hope is lost if you're a Michael Pramawat fan. But, I mean, Pedro here, he's got to be looking at this game going like, all right, here we go. Let's just close it out and get us to a game 3 with still, a solid amount of time remaining.
And the problem here is, so if Pedro has Mew EX and double colorless energy, he can knock out this Buzzwole GX, go down to 1 prize card. And then if Pramawat uses that non-GX Buzzwole and uses Swing Around for the knockout, then Pedro just needs a double colorless on the Mewtwo, and he can Psychic for the win. So there's just so many options for Pedro to take his final knockouts. Really all he needs to find is double colorless energy.
Okay, well...
Or Puzzle of Time, which there are 3 of in his deck still. So I kind of pulled him out as he was searching through his deck.
Just the world is his oyster. I don't know what else to say. He has every option available to him, and they all seem to be very good.
Yep.
All right, Parallel City draws 2 additional cards.
Look how many cards he has in his hand.
I think he has every double color centered deck in his hand.
And there you do see that beautiful Mew EX from that Radiant collection in the Legendary Treasures expansion. That's a card originally from the Black and White era, and then it's kind of reintroduced as a promo card. And it has made its impact felt in the standard format. A card that almost feels out of place in this era of Sun and Moon, but here it is, still as versatile as ever.
Yeah, it still has a home, and versatile indeed, as it does knock out this Buzzwole GX, bringing Pedro down to a single prize remaining against Pramawat's 3. Now, this knockout against this Mew might not be very difficult, but it's the answer that Pedro's going to have available to him. All he's going to need is a Guzma, basically, in order for him to win this match.
Yeah,
so
that's the thing.
This game.
He has... His outs are like Guzma,
Lycanroc,
Double
Ultra
Puzzle
Ball.
of Time, Lycanroc, Ultra Ball, multi-switch to power up his Mewtwo, double colorless energy to power up his Mewtwo. I don't know if there's a combination of cards he can draw in his deck that doesn't let him win next turn.
Now, we are late in this tournament. This is round 11, so draws don't affect you as bad as they do, say as early as round 5, round 6 yesterday. But you still want to try to give yourself as much time as possible to complete this game 3. if you're both Pramawat and Pedro. So I would expect to see Pramawat, go for the Hail Mary right now, do his best, and just hope that that Pedro doesn't draw what he needs. But he understands it's unlikely. And right now we're seeing that Tapu Lele find that end, which is basically Pramawat's only option.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the only great option Pramawat would have had to make this harder on Pedro was if he could have gone Max Elixir onto Rockruff, attach, and then get Lycanroc GX and use that to take a knockout. Then it would force Pedro to have
The
Guzma or Lycanroc. It cuts his outs almost in half. But going in with this non-GX Buzzball, Pedro just has so many options. Even, I don't know if he plays Professor Kukui, but even that gets the job done with Zoroark GX Riotous beating. Now, it is still an end to one card.
End to one.
Now, he does get the draw for the turn and 2 trades after that. So it is not completely guaranteed, but he's going to have a lot of chances to get this game-winning whatever.
Buzzwole just swings that Mew around until it gets knocked out.
And it is worth noting, if he does miss, Pramawat will win the game.
Only a strong energy so far, and a puzzle at a time. The single puzzle at a time is not bad, though. Strong energy can get traded away. Sure enough, there's that strong energy traded away. 2 more cards. Ultra Ball, fine, and the double colorless energy. Double colorless energy does mean that the game is over, and we're going to be going to Game 3 here.
That's it. And he drew double colorless and Ultra Ball, both of which were game-winning cards.
Exactly. So, yeah, we are going to be going to Game 3 now, and wow. Wow is all I can really say. We've seen 5 games now out of these 2 players, and we're about to see our 6th throughout the weekend, and it seems like every game is just awesome.
Yeah. And I think most of them have been won by the player who went first.
Right.
Which does tend to tell you that the player going first has an advantage. I mean, it doesn't decide the game or anything like that.
Sure.
We've seen some matchups in the past where it almost felt like, oh, I went first, I win. It's nothing like that at all, but it does give you a marginal advantage. And when the players are this good, they're this skilled, I mean, a marginal advantage is all you need to win the game most of the time.
Right. I mean, we have seen exactly how, just how different Pedro's start was compared to Game 1 based on a couple of factors. Obviously, Bridget being the big one, but going first, just let him get 2 Zoroarks in a play by the time that Pramawat had only attacked once and had only, used 1 supporter. So that only gives you that only gives you so much time if you're Pramawat to kind of secure your aggression before the Zoroark's trade ability just kind of takes over the game.
Double strong energy in the prize cards for Pramawat. It's not what you like to see. That strong energy is one of the main reasons Buzzball is so powerful. When your energy attachment gives you plus 20 damage, it's pretty good. And the Mewtwo in the prizes for Pedro could be potentially relevant.
All right, so Pramawat going first now. Again, forced to play that Tapu Lele before he'd really like to. But there's a Wonder Tag, which is, you say you're forced to play it before you'd really like to, but the reality is that at least it's going to bail you out in these poor situations. So, yeah, not ideal, but at the same time, it's Plan B, and Plan B is not too shabby.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but it was that or, oh, my hand is unplayable.
Exactly. So he does get to attach an energy before Cynthiaing if he wants to, and he chose to attach it onto the Remoraid. Now a Max Elixir being played.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
You never know when you need a nice energy drive.
Cynthia now played after the Max Elixir. 2 energy in play here for Pramawat already, but that Max Elixir almost always seems better fit for, say Buzzwole or Rockruff. But it is what it is, and Pramawat now drawing himself a brand new hand of 6. He obviously wants to find himself a Rockruff more than anything, but also, another Buzzwole or a single Buzzwole and put himself in a position where he can start dealing some damage to these Zorwas, which are sure to come from Pedro's side of the field, on on turn 1 for him.
All right, pretty good draw. We see Rockruff and a Buzzwole.
A couple of Rockruffs, actually, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to bench the other one, just in fear of Parallel City. Pramawat's going to want to retreat Remoraid because it's too easily knocked out. Mew EX with the double colorless energy could have used Energy Drive and knocked out Remoraid, so you don't want to put that in danger. And you don't want to lose the energy on that Tapu Lele if your opponent plays Parallel City, so I think it's smart to keep the extra Rockruff in hand. No need to play into that stadium card.
I Do agree. Now, Tapu Lele here from Pedro. We saw that game 2 where Tapu Lele found the Bridget. Will he do the same thing again this time around?
My bold prediction, yes.
Well, you never know. Like if Pedro's hand is dead, then obviously he's going to go for something beyond a Bridget. But as long as Pedro has another supporter that can draw him some cards or accesses like a Zoroark or two, then of course he's going to go for the Bridget.
I mean, it's
Bold
not
prediction.
it's not 0% that he doesn't grab Bridget, but that's it's pretty likely. Even if your hand is like all unplayable cards in a single puzzle of time, you still take Bridget and use the puzzle of time and hope there's a Zoroark GX in your top 3.
All right.
Like just getting the 3 basic Pokemon is just so much better than playing a Cynthia for 6 cards and hoping you draw a basic.
Oh, of course. Now, Double Zoro with the Rockruff are the choices here for the Bridget, and that's just ideal. That's as good as it gets here for a turn 1 here for Pedro, who obviously does not have very many basic Pokemon that like to attack. And
Ideal turn 1 indeed. Another Bridget into an energy attachment onto Rockruff. This is exactly what Pedro is looking for.
Brooklet Hill here from Pram plays his 4th Pokemon now.
Looks like he's filling the bench. What does he want to go
Rogue,
for?
who? All right, Diancie now, too.
Yeah, this is going to be important. If Pramawat can find Strong Energy or Beast Energy plus a Lycanroc GX, he can wipe out that Rockruff before Pedro gets a chance to evolve. Thanks to the Princess's Cheer from Diancie Prism Star. Makes your fighting Pokemon's attacks do 20 extra damage to your opponent's active Pokemon.
So to summarize, off of this Cynthia, we're going to want to see if your Pramawat, Lycanroc, and either a Strong Energy or a Beast Energy.
Remember, he does have 2 Strong Energy
There's
prized.
Beast Energy.
Oh,
And we see the Ultra Ball, so he does have it.
yeah, he's got the Ultra Ball, but
It'll cost him some cards, though.
it cost him big. This is one of those spots where you have to wonder, do you Ultra Ball for Octillery and then hope to draw the Lycanroc? Or is this knockout so important that you just need to grab Lycanroc? I think he's going to grab Octillery. I think it's way too risky to leave yourself with basically 0 cards in hand. But you can see the temptation is there.
You know, I definitely think that there's something to be said for going for the Lycanroc, though. If you go for the Lycanroc here, then even if you don't get a good prize out of it, even if the top of your deck isn't very helpful, like you're still going to have some sort of aggression, and you still have the Max Elixir. You still have options, right? And you obviously you're going to need some help eventually, but in the meantime, you're slowing your opponent down so much.
Yeah, but you're drawing 5 cards. That's a lot of cards.
That's true, and you can always find the Lycanroc through this Abyssal Hand, but oh man, it's just going to be so much harder. So
this is a big Max Elixir. He did miss the first one.
It's on the second, though.
All right, so he's going to get that crucial energy onto his own Rockruff. Now, it's interesting, Lycanroc GX was out for quite a while and saw very little play in both Standard and Expanded. And then all of a sudden, just everybody started playing it. It's in Zoroark decks, it's in Buzzwole decks. Everyone's like, oh, wait, this card's good.
Big-time Abyssal Hand here, though. He finds another Ultra Ball.
Woo.
Huge here, as it does pay off for him, as Ultra Ball is now going to be able to find him that Lycanroc, and Lycanroc will be taken down to the Rockruff.
You see the look on Pedro's face. He knows how big that is.
Yeah.
Look of disgust.
As important as any card could have been here for Michael, as he finds that Lycanroc, the Rockruff not long for this board state.
I'm going to get another Max Elixir, potentially getting another energy in play.
Icing on the cake.
Ooh, all right.
Oh, man. Things are not looking good here for Pedro.
This is what dreams are made of if you're a Buzzwole player.
Or nightmares if you're the Lycanroc Zoroark player.
Yeah. Bloodthirsty Eyes, Sledgehammer with 50 extra damage from Beast Energy Prism Star, Diancie Prism Star. Those Prism Star cards, man, they add up.
Could have all been avoided if Bridget could have found 4 Pokemon for the record. Just throwing that out there.
3, clearly not good enough.
All right, so Mew is the new active Pokemon here for Pedro. As Pramawat draws first blood here, it takes the first prize. 5 prizes remaining for Pram, 6 here for Pedro. Early in Game 3, where there's only 5 minutes remaining, but at huge advantage Pramawat right now.
And salt in the wound for Pedro as he draws Lycanroc GX for the turn right after his Rockruff just got knocked out.
Why wouldn't he?
And if you're Pedro, this just looks like an awful situation. How do you even approach this? If you attack with Mew EX and knock out this single prize Buzzwole, then you're surely getting knocked out by a Claw Slash from Pramawat's Lycanroc GX, and then you're kind of put in the same position. You have no energy in play, no attacker that can respond to these big fighting Pokemon. If you attach to your bench, all it takes is a Lycanroc GX, Bloodthirsty Eyes, or a Guzma, and Pramawat's just going to follow the energy. If he puts it on the bench, he'll knock that out. Puts it on the active Pokemon, he'll knock that out. And this is kind of the control you can get with the Buzzwole Lycanroc deck because it's so aggressive and so able to put on pressure from the early stages of the game.
Pedro doing what he can, though, as he does bring a Zoroark GX into play, trades into a Guzma. Guzma played, bringing the Lycanroc up here from Pramawat, and we're seeing an aggressive Tapu Lele. Field Blower first gets rid of the Brooklet Hill and a Tool, and now we see a big-time attack here from the Tapu Lele, dealing 80 damage to Lycanroc, kind of dealing first blood there, but is that going to be enough?
And now Pram's going to have to make a choice. Does he want to burn his GX attack this turn or try to draw into a Choice Band and Claw Slash? Looks like he's settling for Dangerous Rogue GX this turn. Either way, he's going to be taking 2 prize cards.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, unless he wants to Guzma. Does have that option. And yeah.
Goes for the Guzma on the Rockruff. We see just how important Rockruff is to this matchup.
Still 2 strong energy in his prizes. Does draw a Guzma, so he'll have another one. Keep targeting down Pedro's benched Pokemon. Pedro's just in such a predicament. He's only gotten 1 Zoroark GX in play as well, so it's not like he has an excess of resources trading over and over. He's just drawing a couple extra cards, and Zoroark GX isn't that great until you get 2 or 3 or 4 of them out when you can keep filtering through your cards. When you trade once, it's okay. When you're trading 2 and 3 and 4 times, you're drawing 4, 6, 8 cards. That's a massive amount of cards.
Right.
2 cards, it's good, but it's not great.
Yeah, exactly. That's why Zoroark tends to be paired with Bridget, just because you definitely want to be able to get as many Zoroarks into play as possible, because trade is one of the few abilities that is just great in multiples, and the less of them that you have, the less impactful it becomes. Now, Pedro, I mean, how does he get out of this? He still has a Lycanroc to deal with 2 energies on it, quite a few hit points, but beyond that, like, he's got to deal with his Buzzwole with a Beast Energy.
Yeah, it's going to take something like, I think, first of all, Parallel City is very important. Forcing Pramawat to make a decision on which Pokemon he wants to discard. He's going to have to choose between probably Rockruff and then Diancie Prism Star. Tapu Lele GX is an easy throwaway. So Parallel City is big. Another card is Enhanced Hammer. You can get rid of that Beast Energy, Prism Star. That's going to be a good start, but still, there's that Lycanroc GX on the bench with 2 energy waiting.
All right, Ultra Ball finds Tapu Lele. Tapu Lele able to Wonder Tag. He may just find a Bridget to thin his deck out, but he has other options available to him.
Yeah, we do have to pay attention. There's only about a minute left in this round, so there is some chance that this won't come to a conclusion. You got to think Pramawat is set up enough to be able to take big knockouts for the rest of the game, but he might only have 2 turns to take 4 prize cards.
Certainly seems that could be the case. Actually, it seems likely that that's going to be the case, as Pedro is drawing himself 6 new cards. Does have quite a few options available to him, and he is weighing them.
All right, so let's see what we got here. Doesn't look like any great options.
All right.
And get a second Zoroark GX out, but again, what is he doing to advance the board state at all? I mean, what are you going to do, attack with Mew EX? That doesn't seem good.
No, it certainly seems like Pedro is not going to be winning this match, but he could be getting a draw here, all things depending. Like, at this point, I think you start to play defensively Like, obviously, time's about to be called. Matter of fact, I believe it just got called right now.
Yep. Buzzer has sounded.
Indeed, we just heard it. So, with time being called right now, I think you just try to make as many defensive plays as possible. Hope that your opponent cannot take 4 prizes in 2 turns and settle for a draw.
All right, let's see what Pedro can do. Yeah, all he can really do is make it as hard as possible for Pramawat to win. But does not find Enhanced Hammer or that Parallel City, none of those disruptive cards.
I think you also want to find an end for yourself if you can make one available to you.
Well, already played Cynthia for the turn, so.
Right, I meant for the following turn.
Yeah. Certainly not looking good for Pedro. Just going to be a matter of can Pramawat find what he needs to close out this match. He'll have 2 turns to take the final 4 prize cards. Can he do it?
Well, he has a Guzma in hand, and he has a Rockruff in play.
It's a good start.
So there's Guzma, finds the Zoroark, takes away one of the trade options as well. Has to bring up a Tapu Lele, which is forced to retreat for that energy well. And now he plays a Floatstone onto with the Octillery.
And the question is, do you want to play your N in this spot? You can play it kind of defensively. You N your opponent to make it harder for them to have their own N against you.
Usually that's the case, but when your opponent still has 6 cards, 6 prizes remaining, and your opponent only has like a 5-card hand, doesn't seem to be as strong in that particular case. But Pram found exactly what he needed right there was the Guzma. So now if I'm Pedro, I'm probably going to try to knock out that Rockruff and try to hope that my opponent can't find a Guzma to take his final 2 prizes.
The problem is you can't really knock out the Rockruff with a non-GX Pokemon. If you knock out the Rockruff, that means you're sending out like Zoroark GX, and then you pretty much lose.
So you're saying you can't have your cake and eat it too?
Guess not.
Well, Pedro has a Guzma in hand and an Ultra Ball, but all right, Ultra Ball is here.
Yeah, I think Pedro's trying to figure out what gives him the best chance to win the game. I think
to win the game,
or to not lose the game, to get a tie. So it's somewhat interesting. So you can play the N, which is kind of the conventional thinking. You play N, lower your opponent's hand size, and just hope they don't draw away.
I believe he has a double puzzle of time in his hand now, by the way.
Yeah, so you can play the N, hope your opponent just doesn't draw what they need. You could also play Guzma and bring out like Diancie Prism Star and force your opponent to have exactly Guzma to win. That takes away the out of Lycanroc GX, unless your opponent also has a Floatstone. But if you Guzma out Diancie Prism Star and then corner with Rockruff, you force Pramawat to have Guzma to win. Otherwise, this goes to a tie.
Seemed like you were reading my brain as I was just coming up with that exact same little scenario. But Field Blower with a strong energy seems to be the choice here for the double puzzle of time.
Yeah, and that's why I was thinking Pramawat might have thought about just playing N because he didn't have Guzma in hand. And his hand is full of cards he can't play. So he just doesn't have access to Guzma unless he top decks it or top decks like an Ultra Ball to discard some cards. So he can't Abyssal Hand for any extra cards.
There is that strong energy onto the Rockruff. Oh, boy.
Yep, and he bringing out Octillery is fine too. Corner, you can't retreat. And it looks like no Guzma.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the end of this one, as that was the perfect strategy to stop Pramawat from taking the final 2 prizes. It's an Octillery with a Floatstone. It just wants to float away so bad.
Has no retreat cost, but he can't retreat.
Unfortunately for Pramawat, he could not lower his hand size enough. And that's the end of it. It is going to end up as a draw, as a very well played draw here from Pedro, actually, as he had his back against the wall. Had there been, say, another turn or two, things would have been very